Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
All right, guys, we are back and better than ever to continue on with Trooper Proctor. Let's see what we have in store for us now. That ended on a cliffhanger before lunch. Now they're back.
Okay, let's bring the witness in, please. All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Julio.
Before we broke, we were discussing Sally Port video that you watched several weeks ago. I want to make sure I'm clear about this. You indicated that the video that you watched was proper in terms of orientation, but the timestamp on the bottom had been inverted, correct?
Yes, that's the way it appeared.
And you recall that being a yellow chyron underneath.
To the best of,
in other words, the font color.
to the best of my memory, yes.
Which of the Canton Police Department videos were you responsible for retrieving, if any?
I did not retrieve any of them.
So what I'm trying to ask is, and maybe I'm doing it inartfully, how did those Sally Port videos end up in the possession of the Commonwealth? What was the line of succession?
Detective Lieutenant Tully retrieved the Sally Port videos, I believe.
And do you know from whom he retrieved
Tully again. Tully.
I believe it was the chief of police.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hear from Tully and Berkowitz.
Gave him whatever videos were provided.
Correct, that's my understanding.
And then he provided those to you for your review.
Yes.
I want to stay on the subject of videos for a second, but shift gears to the Ring video footage.
Oh boy.
You've already testified that there were several hundred Ring videos from One Meadows, from both the facing the driveway and the front door camera, correct?
Yes.
As the case officer, you obtained and controlled those Ring videos from One Meadows from the moment that they came into Massachusetts State Police custody until they were handed over to the Commonwealth, correct?
Yes, they were archived.
You drafted the search warrant for the Ring video access records, correct?
I did.
You obtained the warrant returns once those search warrants were executed, correct?
I did.
You took possession of Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone physically, correct?
Yes.
You had access to Mr. O'Keefe's Ring account in that cell phone, is that right?
Correct.
You indicated that you reviewed several of the videos on his Ring app on his cell phone, is that right?
Yes.
So you obviously had not only possession of his cell phone, you had possession of his login account information to get into the app on his cell phone, is that right?
I don't believe we had the password. We had his email account associated with the Ring.
Which means
app.
some
So
way
you-
or another, you could get access to the Ring videos.
Correct.
And watch those Ring videos on his app, on the phone.
Yes.
Which means you had full access to the app. You could keep videos, you could save for later, you could delete videos, you could do anything you wanted to within that app, correct?
Yes, those are the capabilities within that app.
Trooper Proctor, did you delete any of the Ring videos ever from John O'Keefe's phone?
Absolutely not.
Did you delete a video of Miss Reed arriving to One Meadows at approximately 12:41 a.m. on January 29th, 2022?
Absolutely not.
You will agree, Trooper Proctor, that the video of Miss Reed returning home from 34 Fairview at approximately 12:41 a.m.
y'all.
is not there.
Correct.
Y'all, I called this on Monday when this was on direct, and he was trying to make it seem like it was so suspicious that this video was missing, and like Karen deleted it. I was like, how much you want to bet? It was one of these fuckers that did it.
As the case officer, you're aware that Trooper DeChico also reviewed some or all of those videos, correct?
Yes.
And he did that at your request.
Correct.
Yeah,
he
we're
took
going to
notes
need to hear from him as
of
well.
his review of those videos, correct?
Yes.
And then he provided those notes to you so that you could then memorialize those notes and your notes in a broader report that you then drafted in November of 2022, correct?
From memory serves me, the report I wrote regarding the Ring camera was based off my observations of the videos that I had watched.
But you certainly did have, as you just indicated, you did accumulate his notes and review his notes as well as your own notes, correct?
Best of my recollection, I wrote that report off of my notes.
Did you actually, at any point before writing your report, did you note or did you review his notes?
I can't recall.
You asked him, he reviewed the videos at your directions, correct? At
Yes.
your direction, correct?
Yes.
And obviously he would have wanted to provide you whatever insights he had into his review of those videos. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Correct.
So when you reviewed his notes, did you see that they were on some sticky pads? You remember that?
That sounds about right.
Sticky pads. Okay. That sounds par for the course.
Do you recall exactly, as you sit here, exactly what was on one or more of those sticky pads that you reviewed from Trooper DeChico?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection if you would take a look at a copy of those notes?
Yes.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
May I?
Yes.
If you would mind taking a look at the top or the uppermost top note that's highlighted with a sticky note next to it.
I think that sound is him reading it to himself kind of out loud, whispering it.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Approach.
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, do you have these notes in mind, specifically the uppermost note?
The 0041?
Correct.
Yes.
You reviewed this previously before you wrote your report, correct?
Yes.
And you note that at 0041, which is a time relative to what DeChico was looking at on the ring video, he indicated taillights from driveway, parentheses,
Oh.
I think she arrived home.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
0041 is what? What's that in reference to?
Just after midnight, the approximate time where Miss Reed will be returning from Fairview Road.
It's military time for 12:41 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Oh boy. And that's
You
what's
wrote a
missing.
report.
How much you want to bet?
On November, I'm sorry, I earlier said November, it's actually June 1, 2022, memorializing the times that were of note to you in that ring footage, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall every single entry that you made concerning the events that were of note to you that were reflected in your report?
The majority of them. Every single one.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a copy of your report to determine what all you did and did not note?
Yes, sir.
May I approach?
Sure. Do you have it with you, Trooper? Do you have your report with you?
We'll just do this while they're
I'd ask you to review that report.
Keep
especially
looking at it. refreshing his recollection.
May I approach? Yes. Thank you. Trooper, do you have those events in mind?
I do.
Your report is dated June 1st, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And reflected in this report are the bullet points of the times that you found of some note
Oh boy.
in your review
Oh
of
boy.
all of the ring footage from One Meadows, correct?
Yes.
In your report, there's no mention of the footage showing Karen Reed arriving home at 12:41 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And that's notwithstanding the fact that in Trooper DeChico's report,
So I think my thought here is that Jackson's seeking to prove that they are the ones that deleted this Ring doorbell footage of Karen arriving home, in which case it would show the condition of her taillight.
sorry, in his
Hi,
handwritten
script
notes,
letter girl.
he makes note of an event at 12:41 a.m., indicating, I think she arrived home, correct?
Correct.
So sometime between when Trooper DeChico wrote his notes and when you wrote your report, that video footage vanished, correct?
There's also no date on Trooper DeChico's notes. We have many dates from Ring video, so I don't know if he's referencing a different date.
Well, you're aware that the video footage from 12:41 a.m. is gone, correct?
Yes, it's something I've tried to find through Ring for months, as well as the video when Miss Roberts, Miss McCabe, Miss Reed arrived back at John's and they're looking at the broken taillight. That video is gone as well.
So
Wow. Okay.
at some point, while this footage was in Massachusetts State Police custody and being reviewed by Trooper DeChico,
Wow.
that video existed.
Objection.
The objection is sustained. Mr. Jackson, don't wave that again, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
I wish we could see what he was waving.
The fact is, notwithstanding Trooper DeChico's handwritten notes, there's no video of 1241 and January 29th, is there?
No, there isn't.
Oh boy.
Trooper Proctor, would you agree that from the very beginning of your investigation, you treated Karen Reed very differently
You know,
than you treated the Alberts and the McCabe's in this case?
Objection.
I have a thought too. I'm wondering if like there's a pattern here where like maybe Tully and Berkowitz were kind of working together to fuck with some of this video camera footage, and they kind of, you know, were leaving him in the dark to throw him under the bus eventually. Because like that other shit with the lolly part is insane.
I'll allow it. Was she treated differently?
Absolutely not. We've, like I said before, we follow the facts and the evidence, an open mind.
Did you consider her to be, for want of a better phrase, an outsider?
No, not at all.
Not somebody from Canton,
No, not at all.
not family, not friends with the Alberts?
Absolutely not.
At some point, your view of this case caused you to turn what could be described as a bias into an out-and-out hatred. Would you agree with that?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you develop some sort of hatred for Ms. Reed at
Objection.
any point in your investigation?
I'll allow it.
Again, we follow the facts and evidence which showed Miss Reed hit Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle. And yes, at times I got emotional because of that. And I said some stuff, texted some things.
First of all, I love how he says again, as if it mattered any of the times. Like anyone is going to believe anything that he says. That's first of all. Second of all, he's trying to say that like he got emotional because of John O'Keefe being dead, when it's like you didn't know him, and every single person except for like the Camaranos and like Carrie Roberts and his own family have talked about him like he's absolute garbage, and so that's all bullshit.
Shouldn't have. It was based off the evidence.
As a matter of fact, you did express your feelings about Ms. Reed in yet another text message that we haven't gone over here today. Is that right? On February 4th, 2020?
Oh, how so?
Might as well turn to tab 10.
That 10?
Tab 10.
It's either the bait stamp or the,
This is triple F as in Foxtrot. And the base stamp is 2526.
Yes, sir.
You see an entry from Courtney Proctor, a text starting, I didn't give my.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Just permission to publish, Your Honor.
yes.
2526, Mr. Bates. On that date, February 4th, 2022, your sister texted in relation to some sort of donation that she had given. I didn't give my name as I didn't want anyone
Oh,
to link
fuck.
me to Michael, meaning you, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Okay,
Oh.
write that down.
Hold on. Ah, I want to read it.
Request permission to publish, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm going to try to pause it on the text messages.
On that date, February 4th, 2022, your sister texted
Oh, we can't see.
in relation to some sort of donation that she had given. I didn't
Aha. Okay. I didn't give my name and I didn't want anyone to link me to Michael. That's Michael Proctor, certainly. So this is his sister, CP Alberg. Whatever you know must be bad because. Oh, look, wait, hold on. Sorry. Okay, so his sister says to him, I didn't give my name because I didn't want anyone to link me to Michael. And then I guess we don't know. I guess that's got to be him. Somebody says, probably him. Hopefully she kills herself. And then the sister responds, whatever you know must be bad because some people just say it was a bad, drunken tragedy. And then the sister says, let's hope she does so she doesn't drag this out for her family. Oh, let's hope she does so she doesn't drag this out for this family. Okay. Okay.
didn't give my name as I didn't want anyone to link me to Michael, meaning you, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Okay, take that down.
Lawyer, you know, suggested they could have at least played the approach of being so upset over his brother. Okay, yeah. Right, I know. Yeah, it's really not. It's not going to work at this point. There's no way. Clearly, the priority was to protect certain other brothers in blue, as it were.
That you hope that Karen Reed
Sorry.
from Courtney Proctor Chico's handwritten notes.
Mr. Jackson, don't wave that again, okay?
Oh, we already heard
Yes,
that.
Sean. Any point in your investigation?
I'll allow it.
Yes, sir.
Do you see an entry from Courtney Proctor?
Okay, this is what we just read. Okay, so now this is where they're approaching. Okay, looks like it's a pretty quick one.
You are unmuted.
Cool.
You're on.
Yes.
You see the text from Courtney Proctor. I did not give my name as I didn't want anyone to link me.
So that's stricken. That's what was objected to, just this one, or the whole page goes in.
You responded to a text message from your sister, correct? And your response was, hopefully she kills herself, correct?
Yes.
Who's she?
The defendant.
Miss Reed?
Correct.
You literally said that you hope that Karen Reed, the subject of your investigation, the woman sitting to my left, about 7 feet from me, that she would just die, correct?
The figure of speech.
You wanted her to, the figure of speech is you wanted her to kill herself,
No.
right?
No, it's not.
Trooper Proctor, Karen Reed, in your investigation, had quickly become a very serious problem for you, hadn't she?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you believe that Karen Reed was a problem or an issue for your
Wow.
investigation?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, absolutely not.
In your words, quote, all the powers that be want answers ASAP. That's what you texted on January 29th, right?
Yes.
That put a lot of pressure on you, didn't it, Trooper Proctor?
There's a lot of pressure in every case, sir.
This case involves a Boston cop whose family you were actually connected to, correct?
Loosely.
Chris L,
Oh, fuck.
loosely.
Come on.
Yes.
Julie L, loosely.
Yes.
Oh,
Colin
boy.
L, loosely.
Oh, boy is right,
Yes.
Candace.
Kevin L, loosely.
Yes.
Fucking
Loose
hell.
enough to leave his badge and his gun in your cruiser after a night of drinking, right?
That was a good
Objection.
one. That was a really good one. I forgot about that part. There's been so much stuff.
You
Fucking
agreed in your
hell.
group chat that you needed to, quote, make this cut and dry because another cop was involved. Those are your words, right?
Objection.
Where is this?
This was referred to in earlier text messages.
Yeah, I
So
remember.
is that right? Did you say that, sir?
I did text that. I don't know if it's in the exact context. But yes, those were my words.
Group chat.
Yes, that was in the group chat.
Your friends wrote this whole thing in their words, stinks, correct?
Yes, I interpret that as a joke.
You believe, Trooper Proctor, that your life would be much easier if Karen Reed was just dead.
Oh, boy.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Wow.
No. Like I said, it was a figure of speech.
Oh,
My emotions got the best of me based on, the fact that Miss Reed hit Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle and left him to die on the side of the road. So my
Wow.
emotions got the best of me with that
Really?
figure of speech.
Well, let's talk about your figures of speech. During the course of
Wow.
your investigation, your figures of speech include the following.
there you go.
She's a
Yes.
bitch.
Objection.
No.
Is that right?
Yes.
A whack job, correct?
Yes.
A retard. right?
Yes. Well done,
Yes.
The balloon
Jackson.
knot leaks, right?
Yes.
No ass, correct?
Yes.
She's fucked, according to you, right?
Yes.
Ass
Wow.
leaker. That was the word you used, a figure of speech, right?
Correct.
A girl who
Wow.
shits herself, right?
Wow.
Correct.
And
Yes.
then fuck her, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree, Trooper Proctor, that you have dehumanized Karen Reed during the course of your investigation with comments and words like this?
Objection.
Wow.
I'll give you this one, Mr. Jackson.
Would you agree with that?
I'd say based off that language,
Fucking hell. Yes. You have to say
Yes.
yes.
And
Thank
you
you.
admitted, in your own words,
Ugh.
that the cop homeowner wasn't going to, quote, catch any shit, right?
correct.
Because you were out to quote, make this cut and dry. Isn't that right?
The homeowner wasn't going to catch any shit because Mr. Elliott had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death.
Because you were going to make sure that the case was cut and dry. Those were your words, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
And Trooper Proctor, it would be far easier for you to pin it on the girl who's just a whack job cunt, in your words, who you hope just kills herself, right?
Wow.
Objection.
Sustained.
Shame on you, sir.
Wow.
Objection.
All right, so jurors, disregard that. I've told you before, lawyers can't
No,
make comments.
sorry.
They can ask questions.
Sorry, we have to do something for that. Bravo, sir. Bravo. Hold on. We have to do this. Hold on. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Here it is.
We're done here.
Wow. Mic drop. That was. Look at, dude, look at where it's paused right now and look at Karen's face. Look at her face, you guys. I wish y'all could see my mouse. Sometimes it shows and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why it's not showing, but look at her face. She's looking right at him. She's looking right at him. After he pointed at her and was like, that's the defendant and all that, identify her. Oh my God, look, she's like, uh-huh. Wow. You know what? You can tell that she feels finally, for probably the first time in this trial, vindicated to a certain extent. Holy shit. I love him too. Wow. And now for you know who. This guy, the lolly bird.
And Mr. Jackson, you know better than
I
that.
understand. That's all I have.
No, it's
Mr.
fine.
Lally?
I don't care. I mean, not that it matters, but let's just watch this lolly bird on the screen instead. That's fucking hilarious. Look, right? It's in the exact right place. Amazing. What if any? I'm Lolly. What if any? In reference to,
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
with respect to, who, if anyone?
Now, when you had started with cross-examination the other day, you were asked.
I kind of want to see his face actually now,
In
though.
August of 2022, you disliked or did not like Mr. Yanetti, correct?
That's correct.
Why was that?
Well,
Oh.
basically, he stood up in open court and spouted lie after lie about me, called me corrupt and conflicted, dragged my name through the mud after I spent 10 plus years without a single complaint filed against me, and he had no basis or no facts
Oh,
for these wild accusations because there are none.
look at
This
Jackson.
investigation was done with the
Jackson.
utmost integrity, not just by me, but my supervisors and
Whoa.
the troopers in my office, as well as
Wow.
Mr. Yanetti shows up at my sister's school yesterday.
What?
In the parking lot where he's not welcomed or where people are not supposed to be,
Look at his face.
with one of their witnesses and their private investigator. And a teacher sees this, it informs Mr. Yanetti that he can't be there. And instead of saying, okay, and leaving, he asks, is Courtney Proctor in the building? Does she work here? She calls me to
What
see
the
if
fuck?
she was being served.
Objection. Can we approach?
Yes.
Holy fuck. Holy mother of God. What is happening? What? Look at Karen. She looks happy. John O'Keefe's family looks very perplexed. They're almost like laughing. I mean, I want to know. I wish I could know what they're thinking right now, right? Holy fuck. I need to update my banner thing down there. Wow, though. Wow. What is happening? Are they, what is going on? Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Just remember, guys, it was an innocent conversation. Trooper Proctor. We can also have Brian Higgins up here.
You are unmuted.
Rise for the jury.
Oh, wow. They sent the jury out. Whoa. That's wild. Interesting. That wasn't a very long approach, but they sent the jury out. Huh. And they didn't put it on the record. As always, they muted it. God damn it. Wow. 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 What's gonna happen? This is nuts.
Jurors, I am striking that last answer. It was probably a partial answer cut off. I'm striking it completely, disregard it. If you took notes, cross the notes out. You're not to consider it in any way. It is completely stricken from the record.
Wow. Wow. So in other words, this
Trooper, I'd suggest you listen to the question being asked of you before you answer
Interesting.
it.
My apologies, Your Honor.
Keep your voice up, Mr. Lally.
Wow.
Trooper Proctor, let me try that again. As far as
Right.
you were asked about text
Abby.
messages that occurred in
Look at
August
his
of
face. Look at
2022,
him.
in which
Whoa.
you indicated that you did not like Mr. Yanetti, correct?
Correct.
Oh my
And
God.
so at the time of that text message, it was sent in August of 2022. Why was that?
In August of 2022. Why was that?
Yes.
The reasons I laid.
I'm sorry, classic Wally though, right? After all of that, what does he start with? Why did you say you didn't like Mr. Yanetti? As if that's like what? Like what? That's what you're gonna like. Who? The jury doesn't even care about that anymore. Are you joking? Like why?
Laid out the
What?
false accusations of being conflicted and corrupt spouted in an open court, which there's zero evidence of.
I beg
Like I
to
said,
differ.
I stand by the integrity of this investigation, as well as
That's-
every trooper and supervisor in my office.
How is honestly?
Were there also
How is the jury not laughing? I would be like laughing out of anger and also just like, really?
filed by Mr. Yanetti or by counsel containing photographs of yourself and some children?
Yes.
And what, if anything, were the allegations in regard to the children that were depicted in those?
What?
photographs?
So the photograph was taken in my parents' backyard.
What? Objection.
My parents' backyard at a pool party. There's some little kids in the photo. Defense counsel kept insinuating that those were the McCabe's children, when in fact they were my family, my cousins.
Have you at any point in time ever met any children of the McCabe's?
No, sir.
In the course of this investigation, as it was sort of alleged on cross-examination, did you essentially pick a suspect and then try to have the evidence fit?
So, Candace, I don't think we know that that actually happened. I mean, I would imagine she's been on this witness list the whole time, probably for both sides. So he said that this was happening yesterday, but given that the reaction to all that, I don't know how much credibility there is there. Yeah.
Objection.
Form?
Meeting.
In that form, it's stricken. Not allowed to ask that way, Mr. Lally.
How did you
Wow,
conduct this
stricken.
investigation, you and the other troopers involved?
Stricken.
From the start of this investigation with an open mind.
Lies.
Like I said earlier, we didn't know what we had, possible medical. So as the day went on and we collected more evidence and developed compelling evidence against Ms. Reed.
Now, with reference to this investigation, it continued after January 29th, 2022, when you had those text communications with your friends, correct?
Yes.
Was there
I
additional
hope-
information that
I hope the defense finally brings in more people from the hospital so we can learn more about what happened when they showed up, when he was on his deathbed and they fucking showed up with their notebooks. I want to know more about that.
that investigation following January 29th, 2022.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
Following that date of those text messages on January 29th,
Yes.
2022, was there additional information that was gathered over the course of your investigation by yourself or other troopers involved in the investigation?
Yes.
And from that additional information that was gathered, what, if any, information that was gathered throughout the course of the investigation indicated that anyone besides Ms. Reed had anything to do with Ms. O'Keefe's death?
All the information gathered after that date indicated no one else was responsible for Mr. O'Keefe's death.
And sir, you were asked some questions on cross-examination about testimony in the prior proceeding and shown specifically at page 01563, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
So while they're approaching, Lolly didn't say anything
Sir, I'm
of
giving you
substance,
01563,
but
63,
there was a
64. That's
quite a
the-
contentious exchange where Trooper Proctor started talking about Yanetti showing up at his sister's school. And it's worth watching that part. But that wasn't coming from Lolly, that's coming from the witness, and he got scolded. So
What were the numbers again, Mr. Lally?
1562, 63, and 64. I believe.
you Disney a flashlight. Y'all, I'm gonna go let Frodo out real quick because he has to pee. So I'll be right back, but just let me know if I miss anything. But he might still be reading over this. BRB.
Mayor Proctor?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, Trooper, after reviewing those 3 pages, is there now more context to what you were just asked about on one specific page of that testimony?
Yes.
And those were questions related to what you had told and what you had informed other people within the office or your supervisors in relation to relationships with both McCabe's and the office, correct?
Correct.
And in the course of that testimony, did you relay to that body the same testimony you just relayed to this jury in regard to photographs of children and defense counsel attributing those to being McCabe's children, which they were not?
Yes.
Now, you were asked some questions by Mr. Jackson in regard to what you knew or why your focus was not on Brian Alberts later on in the evening of January 29, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And why was that? Why was your focus not on Brian Albert at that time?
There was just no evidence that Mr. Al was involved anyway. Like I said before, from witness interviews, the statements Ms. Reed provided to witnesses, the one shoe left at the scene, the taillight pieces found underneath the snow that were dug out by the CERT team, the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, the one shoe at the hospital that was observed. Her statements to us, Sergeant Mechanic and I, while we interviewed her, clearly the broken taillight and the fact that leaving Brockton, instead of going to Dighton, she backtracked to go to Canton to retrieve her vehicle and then go double back to go to Dighton, which I found odd.
Now, if at any point in time over the course of your investigation you had evidence which led you to believe that Mr. Albert was involved in the death of Mr. O'Keefe, what would you have done?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
With regard to, again, you testified beyond January 29th. At any point in your investigation, did you find any information or evidence leading you to believe that Brian Albert was involved in the death of John O'Keefe?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No.
Now, if you had found information leading to that conclusion or evidence leading to that, what would you have done?
Objection.
Then allow it.
Not only myself, but members of my office would have pursued that,
Regardless of his position, correct?
regardless of what he does for a profession.
You want to approach?
Yes.
My apologies, John. You, document I showed you the other day. Do you recognize that?
That is text communications between me and my high school buddies.
And sir, if I could direct your attention within there to page 2535.
Yes, sir.
You were asked some questions about text on that page, but also there's a text on that page that begins with, they arrived at house together, correct?
Correct.
And what is the date and time associated with that text message that you sent?
That was sent on January 29th.
Okay, guys, what, if anything, did I miss? Yes, he did look genuinely confused. He did, yes. Did I miss anything of substance?
2022 at 11 p.m.
And what is the content, or what did you send to that?
I mean, doubtful.
that text?
The message reads, they arrived at the house together, got into an argument. She was driving and left.
So that's also information that you had late in the evening of January 29th, 2022,
This is so
correct?
pointless.
The form that's sustained.
With respect to that information you conveyed in
Who's
that
that?
text,
I'm hungry.
when did you learn it?
During the course of the day on the 29th.
May I approach, Ron?
Yes.
Mr. Retreat? Now, you were asking questions about people that you spoke to on the 29th, correct?
Yes.
And that included Brian Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, Kerry Roberts. Is that correct?
Trooper Chico and Trooper Dunn interviewed Ms.
I'm gonna
Roberts.
speed it up because I don't give a shit about
I'm saying
Wally.
you, I meant collectively.
Yes.
But you specifically yourself, Sergeant Mechanic, you also spoke with the defendant on January 29th.
I can't even fucking
Correct.
hear
That
him.
would have been prior to any of the text communications.
I know, right?
Within that chat. With your
Am I
friend.
glitching?
Correct.
He asked you something about charging decisions. Is that something that you make in this case or any case?
I don't
I
make
know
any charging
why.
decisions. We're essentially fact finders.
Ha,
As far
that's a
as
good
what Ms.
one.
Reed was charged with or when she was charged with it, that's not something that's within your purview, correct?
No, not at all.
Now, specifically, you were asking questions about some text messages between yourself and Trooper Chico in regard to his medical attempt, correct?
Correct.
And those occurred in April of 2022, is that correct?
Yes.
Was the defendant Ms. Reed charged with murder in April of 2022?
Objection.
No.
That wasn't until June of 2022, correct?
It's correct.
And that was at the conclusion of the grand jury, is that correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
And you're aware that there was a grand jury in this case, correct?
Objection. Hold your trial.
Yes.
And are you aware of certain witnesses that testified at the grand jury?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Yes.
Are you aware that Dr. Sporty Bello testified at the grand jury?
Oh,
Allow that.
Dr.
Yes.
Portobello.
False reason then that the defendant wasn't charged with murder until after the grand jury concluded and Dr. Sporty Bello had testified before that grand jury, correct?
Objection. Sustained.
Yeah, that can't come in.
Now, the Albert family that you were familiar with some members of, that's not an entity, correct?
No.
Individual members of a family, some you know, some you may not, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. What's your phone, Mr. Mayor?
How many members of the Albert family did you know when you started this investigation and
Leaving.
when you received this call on January 29th, 2022?
Julie, Chris Albert, Colin, and Kevin Albert.
Now, you were asking questions.
I know,
about
right,
interviewing,
Thunder?
Julie Albert and Chris Albert at their home on February 10th, correct?
Yes.
Now, with respect to that date, had you ever been to that home prior to February 10th?
I'd not been to that. That's kind of their new home. I'd never been to their new home or the previous home either.
Now, as far as conversations with either Julie or Chris Albert, when was the last time you talked to them before you interviewed them on February 10th?
I believe I'd reached out to Julie to coordinate the interview, but prior to this case, there was that one random text message she sent me and my sister when I was going on a family ski trip. They weren't a part of it. She wanted me to take a video of my sister skiing, but
That was February 20th.
What?
yeah,
Who cares?
So what
Yes.
my question is
We already-
prior to February 10th, 2022, prior to any arrangements to schedule an interview for February 10th, when was the last time that you spoke to either Julie Albert or Chris Albert, if you know?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Now, with regard to that text message in regard to skiing in late February
Oh my
2022,
God.
you were shown that text message, correct?
Yes.
Was there any response from you?
No.
Did you have any further communication with Julie Albert after that interview on January 29th, 2022, related to this investigation?
I recall the serving her for grand jury. I know she wanted to kind of have an idea of what the process was like. So there's communications regarding that.
And was that something that was solely done with Julie Albert or other witnesses or what?
All the witnesses that were called in the grand jury, it's unusual for, the majority of civilians to be called in the grand jury. So they obviously have questions about the process.
Now, as far as babysitting for your children, is that something that Julie Albert ever did?
No.
And as far as those text communications between yourself and your sister regarding that, is that something that you had asked for or something that your sister had suggested?
Yeah, my sister had suggested that. We never followed up with having Julie watch my kids.
Now, you were asking questions about text messages with your sister Courtney, correct?
Correct.
And I believe a couple times you would use the term, well, let me ask you this first. With regard to from January 29th throughout at least January, February 2022, this was this case became something that was on the news on a fairly regular basis, correct?
News and social media, yes.
And so when you were using the term in describing what you spoke to your sister about as far as newsworthy, what did you mean by that?
My sister lives in Canton, so there's a lot of, as well on the news and social media stuff that was being discussed on those platforms.
Now, as far as the discussions that you had with regard to your sister, how would you describe or how would you characterize the type of information that you shared with her event?
General information, nothing specific about the case.
You were also asked about a specific text from your sister on January 30th. It started out with, I believe it was Jesus Christ. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was in reference to the body of Mr. O'Keefe being found on Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
Correct.
And so she's asking you about that on January 30th, correct?
Yes.
So fair to reason that that wasn't something that you shared with her prior to January 30th, correct?
Correct.
and something that you hadn't shared with her at all at that point that you received that text communication, correct?
Correct.
Sustained is to inform. Watch how you ask these questions, Mr. Lally, as your witness.
Yes, sir. With regard to that information, as far as who the homeowner was, what, if anything, had you shared with Sister Courtney prior to you receiving that text from her, indicating her knowledge?
Yeah, I don't recall sharing anything with in regards to the homeowner.
Now, in regard to any issues of a gift or request for a gift, how would you characterize that? Was that serious? Was that in jest? How would you characterize that?
I didn't take.
I'll allow it.
I didn't take that offer seriously. And as I had mentioned I believe on Monday, that I didn't ask for a gift. I never received one. I kind of said, get my wife a gift. She had been home
He
about
said,
10
"Give one
straight
to my
nights with
wife."
the boys. We had another
Joking.
homicide a week before. So
Oh,
that was my response. Get Elizabeth one.
right. So that's asking
She never
for a gift.
received one.
Go.
Now, you were asked some questions about
Objection. That's not evidence.
Correct.
And as far as what, if any, information did you have as far as Colin Albert and his being at 34 Fairview at the same time as anyone from coming back from the waterfall?
It was my understanding Colin arrived later on to just see his cousin for his birthday. He didn't stay that long, maybe an hour, a little over an hour. And as he was leaving, I think he ran into his aunt and uncle as his ride had arrived out front and left at sometime around 12:10 a.m.
Was that information that you
Wow.
had prior to your interview with Colin Albert?
That was some distancing.
Yeah, we knew
His
we knew
ride,
Colin
he
was
knows who it was.
at the house. The timing was provided by Colin.
And at any point in time in your investigation, what, if any, evidence did you ever receive that Colin Albert was at 34 Fairview at the same time as Mr. O'Keefe or the defendant?
Based on Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone location data using his Waze app, Colin Albert is leaving around like 12:10 a.m. Mr.
Based
O'Keefe
on
is
what?
about a half a
From
mile
him,
away at 12:20 a.m.
swear.
So they did not cross paths.
Now, Mr. Jackson was asking about some people as far as interviews or later in October or so of 2022 or beyond. You were given 5 names as far as Brian Albert Jr., Julie Nagel, Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Alba, and Ms. Levinson, and Colin Albert, correct?
Yes.
And then you were asked about 3 people that you had interviewed, and then were asked if there was only 1 person left, that being Colin Albert, correct?
Correct.
Did that math match up as far as 5 people, 3 given, and only 1 person not interviewed?
No.
Now, with reference to Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, and Ms. Alba, to your knowledge, have they been interviewed at any point in time?
No.
And when?
They weren't present for when the adults had arrived back from the waterfall.
So they had left 34 Fairview like Colin Albert prior to the waterfall people coming in.
Objection.
Sustained is that point.
What, if any, information did you have with regards to the whereabouts of Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Alba, and Colin Albert in relation to 34 Fairview and the arrival of people from the waterfall?
They had left their residence.
So with respect to Colin Albert, why was it that he was interviewed and not Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, and Ms. Alba?
Colin was falsely accused of
Objection.
Oh boy.
Can you answer that same question Mr. Lally asked you differently?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead. Answer it.
Colin was the subject of a third-party culprit that had no evidence to back that up.
Wow.
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
That had no evidence to back that up, that he was involved whatsoever. My office and myself felt the need to interview Colin, sit him down, and get his story, his facts of that evening. So that's why we interviewed him at that date and time later on.
Interesting. So what I just heard from him, but here's how I heard that. What I heard that is we already knew that he wasn't involved, so we interviewed him so we could try to. It's just like what they did with Karen, but opposite. We interviewed him so that we could then give proof that he wasn't involved because that's what we already believed. Just like what they did with her, which is we were going to find proof to show that we know she did it, type thing.
When you say we, do you recall who was present with you when you interviewed Colin Albert?
Trooper Zachary Clark.
Are you aware of Sergeant
Oh, it's
Buchanan
from him.
getting screenshots from both Colin Albert and from Ms. Allie McCabe in relation to text communications they had about picking up Colin Albert from 34 Fairview on January 29th?
Yes.
You were asked some questions about Ms. McCabe's cell phone, is that correct?
Yes.
And As far as any material on that phone, are you an expert when it comes to cell phone abstractions and what different material may mean within a cell bright abstraction?
No, that's left to Trooper Garino in our office.
Are you aware of reports regarding those searches from Trooper Nicholas Garino, a Ms. Jessica Hyde, and a Mr. Ian Whitman?
I am aware of those, yes.
And those are people who are experts, those are people who have special knowledge or specialized knowledge as it relates to cell bright technology that you do not, correct?
Objection.
One of the questions sustained.
What, if any, knowledge are you aware of Trooper Nicholas Garino, Ms. Jessica Hyde, and Mr. Ian Whitman having with respect to cell bright or cell phone technology that you do not have?
Objection.
Allowing it under voting.
Make me question.
Oh, boy.
You are.
All right, well, we will jump ahead while they do all this. Don't worry, guys. We'll be on recross soon.
As far as your conversations with
Okay.
Kevin Allen, how would you characterize those in relation to this investigation?
They had nothing to do with this investigation. Like I said, we were working a cold case together. We also work on other cases together that, unattended deaths that I'll respond to, a potential suicide or an overdose in the town of Canton that I'll respond to. But the topic of our conversations were in regards to the cold case or unresolved case that we're working together.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
God forbid, whoever it is whose case he's working on, that's a nightmare.
The documents
Speed it up while he's
the other day.
looking at things.
You recognize that?
Yes,
Sir,
I do.
what do you recognize that?
Text communication with Kevin Albert.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to the big same pages of 2600 and 2601.
Yes, sir.
Now, in regards to
No,
that
I'm
particular date, you had indicated that you had conversations with Kevin Albert about working a cold case from the town of Kent, correct?
Yes.
And specifically on that date, where did the two of you go?
I recall going down to the Cape to interview at least one person of interest.
Oh, this is when he made that excuse about that whole thing where they got really drunk
Yes.
and he left his
In
gun.
reference
Oh, my God.
to Kevin Albert leaving his badge in your car, you recall that?
I do.
If I could direct your attention to page 2602. And what, if any, text communication is contained on that page as far as you asking Kevin Albert any questions about his address?
After I informed Kevin Albert I had located his badge, I follow up, what's your address? I will drop it off after the gym.
So you're asking his address because you don't know his address, correct?
Correct.
Sustained.
Why are you asking for his address?
I've never been to his house and I don't know where he lives.
You're so close with him that you don't know where his house is, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can I approach this, Richard, Your Honor?
Yes.
You were asking questions about ring videos from One Meadows Avenue, Mr. O'Keefe's home, is that correct?
Yes.
To be clear, did you delete any ring videos from Mr. O'Keefe's account, either on his app on his phone or from the materials that you received pursuant to the search?
Absolutely not.
Now, when you saw
It's
that
up
there
to
were
you.
ring videos.
What's
missing
even the
from time
point?
that
No
you
one's gonna
expected,
believe anything he
videos to
says.
be. Specifically, what I'm asking about is Ms. Reed or the defendant's arrival at the home after leaving Fairview Road, and Ms. McCabe, Ms. Roberts, and the defendant's departure from One Meadows to Fairview Road later on that morning. What did you do?
I reached out to Ring several different times. They informed me if a video is deleted, there's no digital footprint of that. It's essentially kind of gone forever.
And with respect to that time frame, what, if any, other additional steps did you take to try to retrieve that video? Was there a second search warrant, sir?
Yes.
You were looking for additional information from that same ring video.
Bleeding.
Sustained.
What, if any,
I know, I agree, Fender.
Additional video.
You were asking questions about notes from Trooper DeChico.
Ugh.
Correct.
As far as that 004.
We need to hear from DeChico. We need to hear from Berkowitz. We need to hear from Tully.
That just
And that-
tells me
and
it's a
that-
time.
I think the defense is
Do
going
you
to call it. I mean, that's my bet.
specifically whether or not that is something that Trooper DeChico saw or something that Trooper DeChico was looking for.
That's something Trooper DeChico could answer for.
I may have this moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
So you were asking questions about Sallyport video at Canton Police Station, correct?
Yes,
And you arrived at the Sallyport garage of the Canton Police Station sometime around or shortly after 5:30 p.m., correct?
yes,
Now, that 5:30 p.m. time, is that before or after 5:07 a.m.?
after.
And 5:07 a.m. is when the Exhibit 6, video number 153, with the defendant backing out of the garage, where you testified on Monday, you observed some damage to the taillight, correct?
Correct.
It's a great question, but this is not a normal trial. There's not been any custodian of records for literally anything. It's just bizarre. I don't know. Maybe the defense will. I mean, I would imagine the defense will. If the prosecution were going to, they would have done. Sorry. If the Commonwealth were planning on calling someone from Ring, they would have brought them in before they started talking about the videos itself, right? Like, you would want to lay that foundation so that then you give piece of shit witnesses like this any type of credibility. So it doesn't make any sense. But I would imagine that the defense will call them in. So
Ms. Roberts and Ms. McCabe arriving at his house, in which you can see damage to the right passenger taillight, correct?
Correct.
Are you aware of a cruiser camera video from the Canton Police Station, Police Department, specifically Lieutenant Ray, going to One Meadows Ave at 8:22 in the morning on the 29th, in which you can also observe damage to the taillight?
Objection.
Sustained is to the floor.
As far as 8:22 in the morning, what, if any, video from One Meadows Avenue are you aware of depicting the defendant's taillight?
Canton Police Department went to conduct a well-being check, and on the dash cruiser camera, you can see the back of Miss Reed's vehicle and the right taillight to be broken and missing pieces.
And as far as your time at the home indicting the vehicle, the defendant's vehicle was towed from that location on that day, correct?
Correct.
And what, if any, video are you aware of from that driveway, which depicts the right rear passenger side tail light of the defendant's vehicle?
Yeah, as the vehicle's being put on the tow truck, you can make out that there's some pieces missing.
Now,
it's not what
going back to
the dude from Dighton
those
testified
text
to
messages
yesterday.
with your friends,
or
January
Monday?
29th, 2022. With that time in mind, at that
Officer
point in time,
Burrows or whatever.
well, let me ask before, as far as all those other videos that we talked to, all of those videos precede your time in the Sallyport garage at 5:30 p.m. on January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Now, with reference to, you mentioned in your testimony the other day, earlier, that at some point in time later in the day or early in that evening, you had met for a debriefing with yourself and the other troopers involved in the investigation on January 29th. Is that correct?
Yes.
So fair to say the information that had been collected by yourself and the other troopers on January 29th, you had that in mind, or you were aware of that when you were involved in these text communications with your friends, correct?
Yes.
And so were you, at that time that you're texting with your friends, you had seen the defendant's vehicle,
Correct. Yes.
and you had seen the damage to the taillight, correct?
Yes.
And you were aware that Lieutenant Tully and the CERT team had conducted a search around 34 Fairview and recovered Mr. O'Keefe's sneaker and a taillight.
Objection.
Sustained is to the floor.
What, if anything, were you aware of in regard to Lieutenant Tully doing with the CERT team at 34 Fairview earlier that day?
Detective Lieutenant Tully and the CERT team conducted a search, discovered several pieces of broken taillight pieces, as well as Mr. O'Keefe's missing shoe.
And the shoe that Lieutenant Tully and the CERT team had retrieved, what, if anything, did you observe in relation to that and the shoe that you and Sergeant Mechanic had retrieved from the Good Samaritan Hospital?
Yeah, they were matched. They were both black Nike sneakers with the white logo.
Now, you had talked to first responders, correct?
Yes.
And that included firefighter Flamani,
Correct.
and that included Sergeant Good.
Yes.
You had done interviews with regard to Brian Albert, correct?
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe, correct?
Correct.
Matthew McCabe, correct?
Yes.
The defendant
Yes.
and other troopers from your unit had also interviewed Kerry Roberts, correct?
Yes.
Are you aware of statements that were attributed by Ms. Roberts and Ms. McCabe to the defendant as far as what she told them earlier that morning?
Yes.
And you aware of statements that Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts had made to troopers in regard to what they had observed that?
Yes.
Now, were you aware that both Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts indicated in interviews on January 29th that when they had got to 34 Fairview Road, they could not see Mr. O'Keefe's body? However, the defendant sort of bolted out of the backseat of the vehicle directly over to Mr. O'Keefe's body.
Objection.
You can ask that differently, Mr. Lally.
With respect to the statements from Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts in regard to their arrival at 34 Fairview around 6 a.m. in the morning, what, if anything, stood out to you or were you aware of in relation to those statements?
Yeah, from those statements, as Ms. Roberts was driving down to Fairview, Ms. McCabe was in the passenger seat, Ms. Reed was in the back. Obviously, whiteout conditions as they're coming down like that slight hill, getting just before the left side of the property. Ms. McCabe, Ms. Roberts indicated that. Ms. Reed said, "There he is. I see him. I see him." And Ms. McCabe, Ms. Roberts didn't know what Miss Reed was talking about. They stopped the car. Miss Reed ran directly over to John O'Keefe's body. And even when Miss Reed had exited the vehicle, Miss McCabe and Miss Roberts still didn't know what was going on and what she was running to.
Now, were you aware from your conversation with firefighters?
I just don't give a shit about anything else. This
I
happening. Yes. I want to get back to the girls. Let's speak
Yes.
them up a little bit.
And
Freaking
were you
Molly,
also
it's just
aware
hard
of,
to listen
statements
to,
that
man.
have been made to other first responders about her getting into an argument with Mr. O'Keefe as she was dropping him off at 34 Fairview, indicating last time she saw him.
It was
Later on,
it was a rarity that at the very beginning of this redirect, there was something interesting, and then the rest is just, typical.
subsequent interviews.
I'm sorry, I meant to keep paused. Fender says, I think they've been letting Lolly lead the witnesses 6 ways to Sunday, right? With random witnesses, so he gets used to it and then fucking. That's actually very astute. Yeah. I mean, for sure.
So at the time that you're sending these text communications within this group chat in the later part of the evening, January 29th, 2022, what is it that you did know in relation to your investigation with regard to Ms. Reed, the defendant, and or anyone else?
All right. So we knew the last person seen with Mr. O'Keefe alive was Miss Reed. We knew they were traveling to Fairview Road. Witnesses stated they saw a SUV out front of the house. It went from one side to the other. Miss McCabe was texting John, parked behind me, things of that nature. John never went into the house. And then the following morning, Miss Reed, Miss Roberts, and Miss McCabe located Mr. O'Keefe in the front lawn. I observed those injuries at the hospital. The one sneaker. Later on in the day, the CERT team, along with Detective Lieutenant Tully, found broken taillight pieces that matched Miss Reed's taillight, as well as the missing sneaker that matched Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Some inconsistent statements that Miss Reed had provided to Sergeant Mechanic and I.
So at the time that you made those comments, disparaging comments in regard to Ms. Reed in the context of those communications with your friends, as inexcusable, as unprofessional as those comments are, the information you had was that Ms. Reed had struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
Yeah, you gotta watch the form, Mr. Allen, it's a statement.
At the time that you made those inexcusable and unprofessional comments, what did you believe the defendant had done to Mr. O'Keefe?
I believe, based on all the physical evidence and facts, Mr. O'Keefe got out of that vehicle holding that cocktail glass he walked out of the waterfall bar with. Miss Reed pulled ahead and then backed into him, struck him with her vehicle, and then left.
And then came back 5.5 hours later, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain how John O'Keefe his height was cut in half? Can you explain that? Where's your common sense? Remember, we talked about this. That taillight would have come up to his hip. So if you want to stick with this theory that she hit him in the head with the car, you are going to have another idea as to how that taillight got cracked. It doesn't make any sense. How do you not? It's so basic, man. It's so basic. I can't.
So you think
It's
that
good. Redirect.
your assessment, personal assessment,
Hold on.
the care of Reed had struck this officer with a car, gave you license to call her a cunt, right?
Based on the evidence, sir, and my motion got the best of me. So it was in poor taste. Yes, it was it was inappropriate, juvenile, but it was my motions that got the best of me.
And you called her a whack job. Gave you license to call her that too.
Yes,
Gave you license to say to your friends, oh, no. She's fucked. Right?
that's what I wrote.
Gave you license to say that she's a retard.
Again, another disgusting comment.
Sir, you had an
At least
agenda
you said,
from moment one, did you not?
Objection.
Sustain,
Did you have an agenda?
Objection.
sustain, same question.
That was a good one the first time. So the fact that you believed personally that your narrative was she hit him with a car, you get to talk about her leaky balloon knot,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Objection.
Sustain.
You indicated on cross-examination that you saw a video at 8:22 a.m. with some damage to Ms. Reed's right rear taillight, correct?
Yes,
8:22 before or after 5:07 a.m.?
after.
You also said that you had no idea where Kevin Albert lived, right?
Correct.
But you did say about getting his badge to him after that drunken night with him, that you just leave it in your mailbox, right?
Objection.
Yeah, crazy.
We'll allow it.
Yes, my mailbox.
Yeah. So he obviously knew where you lived.
Just leave a gun in a bag.
Yes.
What the fuck?
And then you said, there's no evidence whatsoever, your words, no evidence whatsoever, We talked about Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Colin Albert. No evidence whatsoever that they were involved in the death of John O'Keefe, right?
Correct.
But Trooper Proctor, you're the one responsible for gathering the evidence, correct?
Objection.
Allow it.
Right?
I am one part of
Mhm.
a greater group of detectives that gathers evidence. I'm just one part of that unit.
Shut
You're the
up.
pointy end of the spear, aren't you?
Objection.
Sustain.
You're the case officer, the lead detective, correct?
Yes.
Sort of like the fox guarding the hen house, isn't it?
Objection.
That's sustained, Mr. Jackson. Do you have anything else? All right, Trooper, you are all set.
Y'all, who's going to be next?
Thank you, Juris.
Next witness, Mr. Allen.
Yes, Your Honor. Commonwealth call Lieutenant Brian Tully to the stand.
Oh, fucking hell. It's Tully, you guys. Holy shit. Here we go. I was calling for it. They must have listened. Do you think Lolly's listening to me? All right, let's edit this. Wow. Holy shit, guys. We got Tully. He's got a lot to answer for. Holy shit. My guess is Yanetti will do cross on him because like this would just be too much for Jackson. I wonder if it's RI or RY. Another Brian, too. Wow. Wow. Oh, he has a very shiny head.
Whenever you're ready.
Very shiny head, guys.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Excellent shiny
Please
head.
state your name and spell your last name for the jury.
Brian Tully, Tully,
Can you spell your first
How are you
name?
employed, sir?
with the Massachusetts State Police.
And how long have you
Nice
been a member of
tie,
the
also.
18 years.
And what rank or assignment do you currently have with Mass State Police?
The rank I hold is Detective Lieutenant, and my current role is the unit commander for the Norfolk State Police Detective Unit.
I like his tie.
And now, how long have you been, let me ask you first, as far as, how long have you been lieutenant of the state?
I was a first lieutenant in 2021, and then I attained the rank of Detective Lieutenant later in 2021.
And with reference to your current unit, how long have you been a member of that?
I've been with the Norfolk State Police Detective Unit for 12 years.
And prior to and throughout the course of your work within the detective unit, the Norfolk DA's office for the state police, what, if any, specialized training
Okay,
have
I
you
spelled it
received
correctly.
and or given in regard to
Oh, God
investigations?
damn it. His training and experience.
Uh,
I'm going to skip.
For the first 10 years as the rank of trooper and sergeant, I was on the homicide section of the unit.
Okay, Lolly,
If there's a death in a certain community, and give them
let's get
in
to
the homicide section.
relevant things.
Now, turning your attention to January 29th, 2000.
Here we go.
At some point, did you become aware in the morning with regard to a death within the town of Canton?
Yes.
Lolly, speak like a normal
What,
person.
if any, when did you become aware and how did you become aware initially of what had transpired?
Shortly after 7 a.m. that date, I received a call from Sergeant Yuri Buchanan informing me that a person by the name of John O'Keefe was found
You're saying
unresponsive
it's
in
still too
Canton.
fast?
He was transported to Good Samaritan Hospital.
It's only
But it was
a
expected he was not to
1:55.
survive. Normally, I would not get a call like that, but we learned that Mr. O'Keefe was an active
Yeah.
Boston police officer. Sergeant Buchanan wanted to make me aware of it at that point.
And so then what happened from there as far as your unit?
Understood.
So
Oh,
as we learned,
an interview. Are you having an interview for a new job vendor? Good luck. Wow, that's awesome. Still doing psychology though, I would imagine, right? Let us know in the Discord how it goes. I'm sure you will be great. They will be lucky to have you.
more information about what was found on scene by the Canton Police Department. Trooper Proctor, who was the on-call the on-call trooper that day on the schedule, and Sergeant Buchanan responded to Canton Police to begin the investigation. And they would keep me updated as they learned more information.
Now, as far as your unit is concerned, what, if any, role does your unit have, or what, if any, jurisdiction does your unit have with relation to any kind of death, whether it be homicide, suicide, unattended death, within the confines of Norfolk County?
We have exclusive jurisdiction by law, but the law also suggests that we need to work with the local police departments as well.
And so how is it that typically in a typical investigation that your unit would work in conjunction
This
with
unit.
local police departments in relation
I swear
to
to God.
Their detective unit would be involved if they have one, and some departments in Norfolk County don't. They would stand by to wait for our arrival. There'd be constant communication between the responding trooper and the detective on scene about things that need to be done prior to our arrival, but essentially ask for or wait for our guidance on what to do next.
And as far as certain investigations go? Are there decisions sometimes that are made with regard to your involvement or maybe your unit not being involved in a death investigation?
Yes.
Y'all, I can't with Wally. I can't even fucking hear him. And this is the normal speed. It's just he's too quiet. I can hear this lieutenant just fine, but I mean, here's the thing, y'all. We're not gonna really learn anything until cross, right? And if there is anything important on direct, I'll pull it up in the recap when we do it, which at least in that, when we have that, we can skip over all the boring, irrelevant stuff. So I think I'm probably going to call it. And actually, what I'm going to do is go ahead and keep working on the recap video that I have going on. But I'm going to be doing tomorrow, because tomorrow he'll be on cross. And I wonder if they're going to call DeChico or Berkowitz after him. I hope they call Berkowitz. But I'll be streaming tomorrow as well. So for anyone who missed it, I did have a video come out this morning of the latest in BK documents. It's not long. It's like 15 minutes or something. But we go over 4 documents. Bit of a spoiler, kind of, not really. There's the first one is about the IgG and the IgG discovery that they've been fighting over for so long. So definitely check that out as well. There was also a recap last night. So, and I'll go ahead and get timestamps going as well for this stream and the AM stream. But yeah, I guess I will look forward to seeing you all tomorrow bright and early for trial. And I have the next recap scheduled for Friday. I might change that. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to be streaming the trial or not live, and that will kind of affect it just because of how much time I have. And then also the computer needing to be available to export it. So you guys are welcome. Y'all are awesome. Love that you guys come and watch. And yeah, I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. If not, maybe if Runkle has a recap, maybe I'll see y'all in the chat there tonight. But love you guys. Thanks for being a squirrel, as always. Here's a lollybird for the road and a poot. And I'll go ahead and let me pull my banner down. And then I will roll the outro. See y'all later.